Welcome to the Black Women's World Podcast. Welcome to Black Women's World, where Black women vibe and thrive together. And if you ain't a Black woman, you'll get to know at least one. Because this Black Women's World, my Black woman's world, is whatever I say it is, simply because I am. So welcome, SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers. We're here for you. Much love and peace. You know what? I'm just trying to do this natural. Can you just be natural?
I didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
You laughing at me because I'm smiling.
No, you laugh because I'm trying to do a podcast here. Hello, you're my SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers from all over the world. This is TracyMac, your favorite podcast host. And I am here with, what's your name, lady?
Jada McNeil.
Jada McNeil. Jada McNeil has been my first guest in over a year.
Yeah. Maybe about two. Maybe two.
No, it's been since you've been on. It's been about two, but I've had other guests on. Oh, you think the Black Women's World is just about your life?
I know I'm a special guest.
I just hadn't heard to have guests on, but when this situation you going through, I think a lot of people can either identify with it, learn from it, or teach us something. What you think?
I think so. It just depends which one you referring to.
Well, you got a lot of situations.
Yeah, yeah. You
do. Yeah.
Well, I know for one, I know it's a big transition for all of us, especially you, because I know it's gonna hurt you.
What's gonna hurt me? Hurt me?
I'm moving.
Oh, you said the word.
Where is the love?
Love is here already, but you are moving. I mean, literally. I mean,
yes.
It's one thing for you to go away to college, but to come back and get ready to go into. I want you to tell the audience about that.
I think one thing about me is I think it's weird that I am moving, because every time I go downstairs, it's like, why isn't everyone else's stuff packed? And I'm like, oh, it's just me. Like,
Yeah, you do have the house a little upset right now with boxes and furniture and pieces. But, I mean, it's bittersweet.
It is. It is. Like, I understand from my point of view, it's like, I know I have to move on to, do things within my career, like going to grad school. Like, that's the reason why I'm
tell
moving.
the listeners, because we have SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers from all over the world who are listening. This is Jada McNeil. For those who you don't know, I'm speaking with Jada McNeil, a recent graduate from Winston-Salem State University.
Go Rams! Go Rams!
She is also my only daughter.
Your only child.
My own.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Anyways, hello everyone.
Yes, she is my only child, and she graduated with honors. Many of you know Jada's testimony about her life, her different abilities, and for her to graduate with honors was a miracle. And now she's getting ready to.
I'll be going to Winston-Salem State as a grad student, and I'll be a part of their Doctors of Physical Therapy program, and I will be graduating in 2026.
Wait a minute, you ain't even got there yet, but you speaking.
Yes, I will be graduating in 2026. That is what is happening.
Okay.
And I'm very excited, but, the move is something that, in my head, like, oh, I'm prepared for, and, something new, like, I get away from my parents, like, da-da-da, but I love my parents. Like, it's like some moments that I do want to, like, be by myself, but sometimes they know when I want to be by myself. So now it's like, I'm about to really be, like, by myself. Like, I know I have their support and all that stuff, but I'll be living, by myself, and I feel like it's a good, huge step for me to do, but at the same time, it's like, I'm going to miss coming upstairs. I'm going to miss, sleeping in my room. I'm going to miss bothering my mama every day that I can get a chance to do. But
well, I mean, let's pause on that for a second, because first of all, I'm proud of you, the woman that you are, have become and are becoming, not only educationally, but spiritually. I appreciate your friendships, your friends who I know and they know us. And I'm just so grateful for you. So I know I've said it publicly before, but I want to just tell you how proud I am, and your dad, how proud we are of you. And when I was thinking about moving, and I was singing it earlier, but you cut me off like you ain't like my singing voice.
Uh-oh.
But Jonathan McReynolds, and I know you we listen to different music, but Jonathan McReynolds' song "Moving On," and he says, "I'm closing chapters, I'm turning pages." He says, "It hurts to let go, but it hurts more to stay." Is that kind of that's how I feel, because to me it's bittersweet for me as a mom, because as being my only child, yes, I don't want you to go, but I feel like, and I don't want to sound arrogant, I feel like as a parent, I have done my job as a mom, and your dad has done his job as a dad, because we can let you go with confidence.
And I
so
agree with
it's that bittersweet. I don't want you to go, but we raised you to go. You feel me?
No, yeah. I feel, hey, I feel you. And I understand that too. I just feel like from my point of view, it's like, if I did stay, I don't think personally I would grow. I feel like I've reached the point of growth that I can get from you, like, or dad, like, living here. I'm not saying location changes anything, but I feel like being on my own is like, I need to do some growing for myself. Like the quote unquote people say, the independence of living by yourself. But that ain't gonna stop me from coming back to the house, because I'm about to do some pantry shopping. If I'm missing something, I can come home and be like, "Hey, you using that mustard?"
Wait, but I thought we were saying it hurts to let go.
Y'all letting go, but sometimes.
I mean, you trying to hang on with strings or something?
No, sometimes you can let go, but sometimes. Go let backwards. Go let.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
So,
well, I mean, what are you learning? And I know everything. I know with me, you know how I am spiritually and all the woohoo stuff, and then the practical stuff of my life. I always try to learn lessons, and this is a transition. So whether somebody's listening who may not be doing a geographical move like you're doing, but maybe they're transitioning in another way, because this was our first real summer together. After you finished your graduate studies, you had a prerequisite. After you finished your undergrad studies, you had a prerequisite class to take for grad school. And for the first time, because all your other summers were either you were tutoring in different camps, internships. And so for the first time in your 23 years, you and I have had the longest time together, I was working, traveling.
Yeah.
And how did that feel?
I feel like this summer, and I'm not just saying with you, but spending the time that I need to not be distracted by certain things I've really had like an eye-opening experience, which is good to have before that I move on to another location.
What kind of can you tell a little bit about the eye opening?
It's within friendships, relationships with people, family, and all that stuff. Like, I feel like I've really had the time to sit down with my own thoughts and to really process certain things. And over the course, like my mom was mentioning, I've always had something to do, something to distract me, or something, especially in school. Like, I was always about school. You can ask any of my friends I lived with, other friends I haven't lived with, like, they're always saying, Jada's in class, or Jada's studying, or she's in the library.
Well, did they know you had to, because of your different abilities, the tutoring that we had you in the summertime and reading camps?
Some people have, like, if I wanted to share that with them, but if not, like, they didn't know. They just thought, I was just smart, which I am smart. But at the same time, it's like, I don't like this. I can't say I don't, but it's certain things that don't attract me that attract certain people in my age group. So I feel like I've always felt a little different and distant, but at least I have friends that understand where I'm coming from. So in this time of, like, I want to say healing, it's really made me look at certain relationships I've made with people, or people I've let go and needed to process. It's really made, like, an eye-opening and spiritual, like, awakening for me. And I'm just really blessed that I've had that experience over the course of the months I've been living, at the house, not doing anything, like no homework, just resting, honestly, resting up for, what I got to do in the next year, or, jobs I have and stuff like that. Like, I really took the time to really decompress, reflect, and just be like, hey, this can't keep going on, or we can grow differently, or what is something that you did before that you did like, or was something that you didn't like. Just taking the time to really reflect on how I can grow as a woman in this world, or how I could grow spiritually, or any of that stuff.
So you feel like a self-assessment.
Yes.
And so why would you feel like, okay, you're moving geographically. Like I said, somebody else may be going through a different type of transition. So would you think at your age group, you're Gen Z, I'm Generation X. Do you think, because I know in my age group with transition, self-assessment is always necessary in order for you to get good footing. How do you think your generation with self-assessment, is that something that y'all do?
I feel like personally, no. From what I've seen with friends or social media, no. I feel like it's so much of a hustle to get somewhere. And I'm not sure where it comes from. Like, everything I see from my generational point is money, or trying to separate themselves from something to be different, and not really understanding themselves. And it's frustrating to watch, because it's just like, I always just see the good in people. Like, that's just me. Like, I know somebody can come up to me and say, hey, I just hit somebody with a car on purpose.
Oh, Lord.
But at one point in time, like, I can still see the good in that person, like, somewhere. And
so they did a bad thing, but
yeah.
you can still see the inherent good in everybody.
Right. And I just feel like some people don't understand where I come from when I see that in people. I'm very understanding. I don't judge. I always try to look at it from their point of view to understand, like, what they got going on. But some people just jump to conclusions, and sometimes, don't go through that, or don't process things. So when, in their point of view, I think they do need to do self-assessment to be like, I need to know who I am first before I either get somebody new, or this new job that I need to have, or they want to have, or a new lifestyle. Like, people need to realize who they are first before fixing the outer part of themselves.
So that's good, Jada. That's good. And I agree 100%. So if let's look at it from this perspective. That's point one. If you were to say that in moving, that from your experience, and in someone transitioning, they're moving different in life. Maybe they're changing careers. Maybe they're moving in or out of a relationship. Maybe they are a social organization, or whatever. That people go through transition. So the first thing you think that can help make a transition, because this isn't your first time transition, it's just one of the bigger ones. So you think that having some form of slowing down to do a self-assessment,
right,
is one of the things. Oh, yes. I guess we could say that's two. Slow down and take time to do a self-assessment. What do you think is another way with your different transitions you're shouting out to the world? Because there are young women listening. There are women who are older who can thrive and learn. Or even, hey, if you're listening and you've got some tips, feel free to send us an email at peace@blackwomensworld.com. So what's another thing you think is helping you with this transition? To slow down is number one. To do a self-assessment, number two.
Just having the idea and the sense of freedom that I have, that you expressed to me, like, some people feel like loneliness is a bad thing, or feeling alone, but I feel like it's a chance of having freedom.
Oh, okay.
You could soar like a bird in the sky.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, you're referring to that time we talked about. You were saying that you having a moment of feeling alone. And I said sometimes people, when you're in transition, sometimes people confuse loneliness with freedom.
Right.
And if you look at it from you can think in your mind, when you see an eagle flying in the sky, it's alone, but yet it's free. And that we do have periods of time where we, soar. I don't like to compare negative, especially with animals, but chickens ain't really never alone, but there are those times. So you said being friendly with freedom.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm enjoying it. Sometimes I feel like I have a little bit of too much freedom. But I definitely enjoy the state I am in now. And I feel like I'm still growing, but I feel like it's a little more steady than it was before. So I just feel like this transition, or anyone's transition, having to slow down, like you said, and self-reflecting, and just really taking the time that you are free. Like, you can do what you want with your time if you can. And I just feel like that's the most important thing you could do for yourself, for your well-being, for your just life or healing, or whatever you're going through. I feel like that's the best thing you could do.
Yeah, and I agree. And even though somebody listening may be saying, okay, she's in her early 20s, she's unmarried, doesn't have any children, sure, she can say she's free. Okay, well, let's flip it over here to me. I am a 54-year-old woman who has a lot of different responsibilities and things I take care of, and there's still those 3 things you can do if you're in transition. Slow down. In that slow down, rest when you can. I don't know if you can get 6 hours of sleep a night or 8, or if there's just time you can just pause. If you have to sit in the car before you go into work, or go in the car, if you're at home and you got a lot of children or a lot of responsibilities at home, if you can just walk outside, notice nature, notice. So rest does not always mean sleep, even though that's a big part of it. But sometimes rest is just a moment where you can just take a breath. So number 1, if you're in transition, rest, slow down. That's number 1. Number 2, take a moment to self-assess. And what were some of the things in self-assessing did you ask yourself? Like, were you asking yourself questions like, how do I really feel about this or that person or this thing?
Yeah, definitely. It was just like an eye-opening experience. And I don't want to get too personal about certain things, but it was just like, some things just don't fit me anymore, of old habits or old friends or whatever. And there's some things that I just look forward to in the future that, help me guide to the growth that I'm doing right now. And really just taking the time just to have, I think they call it the art of noticing. The art of noticing. Yeah, I've seen that. And I I literally take the time to notice every little thing. Like, even now when I drive, I used to drive kind of fast. But now it's just like, I take the time to really just be in the moment. Because what is the rush? What is the rush? No one is promised the future.
Right. And we look at that, a lot of times people will control our clock. If we have to work a 9 to 5, if we have social things we're involved in, if the children have homework or whatever, other people may control the clock, but we're the only ones who control our time. So what you do with that time, you are in control. And I like that. The art of noticing. I think you brought that to my attention. I hadn't heard it like that before. And I appreciate that, because taking time to really, I think the term used to be take out time to smell the flowers. I think that's kind of what it means. Take time to notice even yourself. I'm going through different physical things. Sometimes it's because back in the day, I didn't even take time to listen to my own body because of working and traveling and whatever. And so I can appreciate that of a person of your age to say, hey, slow down. Notice, and
of
that.
course, people my age go, I don't know what you're talking about. We need to make this money. We need to do this. I need to get me a man. I need to do this. I need to get 2 degrees. I need to get some. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you are literally 20, 21, or 22. I get it, but this is the age of learning. You're learning, sometimes if you want to hustle, you can hustle if you want to, but that's just not me. I know you can get money, you can get relationship or whatever you want, but just take some time.
And I think the mentality of what are we hustling for?
Yeah.
And I've said time and time again, people say they want a house, a car, and this, that, and other, live the American dream. And I say that once you slow down and self-assess and realize your freedom, a lot of people will realize the American dream is up for revision. What someone else's dream is someone else's nightmare. You know, I was just speaking with another pastor friend of mine, and she was talking about how she wants something different, and that someone was telling her to buy another house. You know, you need to buy a second house so you can have investment property. And she was like, yeah. And I said, yeah, people have said that to me too, buy a second house. And that may be something we choose to do. But right now, my goal, I want to help somebody else buy a house.
Yeah.
So it may not be my dream to own this and other investment properties and all that right now, because the dream can change. Right now, the dream is to help someone else buy a house, to see someone else's child play in the backyard.
Right.
That, you know, when I was little, we lived in military housing or didn't have a, you know, but if I can provide that, okay, God made it so we could, you know, have a home or help somebody else, you know, get a home. That's the dream. So slowing down and assessing what's my dream.
Right.
So the hustle may not be necessary the way that people are hustling to get the money, to do whatever, to have clout, to, you know, whatever. And she was also mentioning to me about people traveling. And I said, I like to travel, and I like to travel well. You know, I'd love to go to some of these countries who are listening to us right now, you know, but when people travel well, or they go to different countries and whatever, I don't know if it's my age or whatever, Jada, but sometimes I'm like, you know, y'all go ahead. I'll just trust the pictures.
Because I feel like for me it has to be not a reason, but I like art. So I would go to somewhere in Europe into one of their museums, because I just love art. I do. Like, I like, you know, old Roman type art, or definitely nature. I love nature.
We were talking about African and
definitely
art.
that. Definitely that.
Yeah, and we talked about the reason why people travel. You know, people travel. Of course, I think we're a traveled family as far as going places, and not only having lived in Okinawa those years, but travel other places. But why are we traveling? I like to travel to go see people I haven't seen, my relationships. So I don't need to, you know, I like the white sand beaches and all that, but the traveling, you know, I choose is to go be with people, you know. And so, but in that, we still see the why, that self-assessment. Why do I like to travel? Why do I want to get the bag? Why do I want a boyfriend? Of course, or girlfriend, or however people choose to identify. It's, you know, people want to be loved. People want to be, someone asked the question, you know, everybody wants to be a millionaire. Does everybody really want $1 million? Or does everyone want the freedom of what money and opportunity can bring? So if you can give me the freedom, keep the money, you know? Right. So I really appreciate that. I know I went off on a little tangent, but it was all about self-assessing. What do I really want? Do I have to hustle like that for that? And then the third thing we talked about was freedom. So slow down, self-assessment, and enjoy your freedom while you can, and create freedom that you don't think you have, because we're moving on. You know, the song says, I know my rear view can't compare to what God is doing in my life. So I forget the things behind me. And I finally decided to move on. I'm going to miss you. Being at home so much, you know, especially like I said, these 2.5 months where it's just been us, for consecutive days. Thanks for going swimming with me this summer.
No problem. Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
You're a great swimmer, even though you don't enjoy it as much as I do. But I just appreciate your life. I appreciate you as a woman, and thank you for sharing your level of wisdom with me. And I receive it, and the audience of moving on and how to transition through slowing down, self-assessment, and enjoying your freedom. I love you much, Jada Mac. Any last words to our listeners?
So, for Thanksgiving, right? I need to make a menu so when I come back, I could take a whole bunch of Tupperware back to my apartment.
I'm grateful, and I love y'all for real. Much love and peace. I'm TracyMac.
And this is Jada McNeil.
This episode of Black Women's World Podcast is being brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute Coaching and Training Services. If you're experiencing relationship challenges, be it personal or professional, leadership frustration, conflict fatigue, a need for change or a better sense of direction, or maybe transition uncertainty, Solutions for Life Institute is where self-discovery and peace of mind merge and thrive, creating strategic solutions. Self-discovery is the privilege of knowing who you are here to be and what you are here to do. By doing so, you get to enjoy maxing out your best life, navigate easier through challenging situations, and ultimately increasing your bottom line. Which is why we are sure that self-discovery is one of the best forms of self-care ever. On purpose, through mission, with passion and compassion. To find out more or schedule a consultation, go to solutionsforlifeinstitute.com. You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute Coaching and Training Services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what SistaNistas do, on purpose, through mission, with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my SistaNista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, TracyMac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.